All right, guys. So today I want to talk about the fever case because I think it is actually a very, very interesting item in the CS2 market and in the CS2 economy right now. Obviously, Valve dropped this thing like 2 months ago at this point, and immediately it was received as a very, very insane case, like one of the best cases of all time. People love this. It has an amazing red in the op print stream. It has amazing golds. People started unboxing this thing in the tens of millions. Like the demand was absolutely wild. The demand was absolutely insane. But recently, there has been some new bad news that has actually come out surrounding this item that I did want to talk about, and also talk about how this could potentially affect it going forward and affect it as an investment as well. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video today. But of course, first, just want to mention my cash trading business. If you guys are looking to sell any of your CS2 items, turn them into cold hard cash, crypto, or any other payment method, definitely hit me up over on Twitter. It's going to be the first link in the description below. Obviously, you guys know we like to buy anything and everything for the right price, but we also like to get the big deals done. So if you have any, knives, gloves, if you're looking to sell maybe your entire inventory, bulk cases, expensive skins, whatever, hit me up and we can definitely get a deal done. I can help you cash out safely, effectively, and efficiently. Of course, also recently I have been streaming over on Twitch, so check that out as well. Twitch.tv/I_am_germ. Make sure you drop a follow, maybe a prime, whatever, if you got it. Come hang out with us over there sometimes. With that being said, let's get right into this video today. So, when the fever case dropped back on March 31st of 2025, again, this is what CS2 tweeted. They tweeted out banana for scale, and they had this new thing where we got the armory update, we got the fever case, we got the new train collection, we got these new skins coming to the active duty. We got a bunch of different changes. It was a very, very cool patch, a very, very cool time to be in the Counter-Strike 2 community. And then later on that night, Hobshi tweeted out, we appreciate the update, but I think you made a mistake with the knives. The odds to get Ruby Sapphire seem way too high in comparison to the other Doppler finishes. Also, looking down at your legs and spinning is very broken. Please patch. Now, if you guys don't know, for these cases that have Doppler knives in them, it is supposed to be most common to get a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 Doppler knife. And then it's supposed to be a lot more rare to get either a ruby or a sapphire Doppler. And then it is supposed to be even more rare to get a black pearl. So it's supposed to be, like you should have not very many Dopplers in general, but then of the Dopplers you get, there should be a lot of phase 1 through 4, and then a little bit, like a lot fewer ruby and sapphire, and then even fewer kind of black pearls. But that was not what was happening. We were getting equivalent amounts of black pearls, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, ruby, sapphire. They were all coming out at the exact same rate, which ended up, meaning that a lot of people were pulling these because not only were all the Dopplers coming out at the same rate, all those knives were just kind of considered their own finish. So those finishes were coming out as often as all the other things. So Dopplers were insanely common those first, like that first week or those first couple of days of the fever case, which was crazy because Doppler knives are really cool and they're insane. And this led to, a ton of people opening them. This led to a ton of publicity for this case, probably led to, even more hype and even more popularity about the fever case. People had really, really good feelings and really good emotions tied to this because they were pulling some absolutely insane stuff right off the bat. Every streamer, every YouTuber, every person on Twitter, every person who was just redeeming their stars and opening cases was all of a sudden having, a skeleton ruby or, some kind of sapphire, some kind of black pearl. It was a really, really crazy time. But again, Hobshi let Counter-Strike 2 know. And some people were like, oh, maybe Counter-Strike did this on purpose because they wanted to use it as a marketing tool, or, there was all kinds of conspiracies and all that. And then people were also mad at Hobshi because they're like, oh, this is like the guy letting the teacher know that there was homework, that they forgot to assign or something like that. Counter-Strike 2, a couple days later, they tweeted, you're right. When we released the fever case, there was a bug with the frequency at which different paint finishes were applied to knives. This has since been fixed. Now, again, this did leave us like a 4 or 5 day period where these like super juiced fever cases were out. And again, people had pulled a ton of stuff and it led to a insane popularity spike of the fever case. Again, we had millions and millions of these redeemed and unboxed first couple of days. Also, people had been saving up armory stars for like a couple months up to this point, so it allowed people to redeem a ton of these fever cases and open and sell a ton of these right off the rip, which again has led to us having a very, very insane and crazy supply of the fever cases. But people also thought this wording of this Counter-Strike 2 tweet was interesting because they said they fixed a bug where the frequency at which different paint finishes were applied to knives, which could mean they fixed the Dopplers to actually, make the correct Dopplers rare and stuff like that, or they could have just fixed the fact that all the Dopplers were coming out as their own individual knife finish. So they could have, there's two different things they could have changed. They could have fixed everything exactly how it's supposed to be, or they could have fixed it incorrectly. And some people thought they were fixing it incorrectly. Hopshi then also replied saying, not looking too fixed, boss man. Looks like you upped the odds of Tiger Tooth, Marble Fade, Ultraviolet, Rust Coat, and Vanilla. Vanilla shouldn't even be in this case, but rubies, black pearls, and sapphires are still being unboxed at the same rate as phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then it seemed like maybe Dopplers overall were going to be more rare, but you were going to get all the phases at the same rate, which again would still be very, very good news for the fever case. Like, yeah, if you are somebody who wants, skeleton ruby or skeleton sapphire or whatever to be rare, it's not necessarily that great. And hey, it's probably not that great for people who want to invest and stuff like that. But as far as the fever case, it meant the fever case was going to be an insane case because you could get these Doppler gems at increased drop rates, and it was really, really cool. This led to probably even more unboxing, and also affected the investment potential of this. If a case did end up going discontinued, which had increased odds of getting some of these insane knives, because even with increased drop rates, they're still very rare and they're still very expensive. So it looked like Valve kind of fixed this, but kind of didn't. They still left it broken. So that was kind of the last thing that I heard. The last thing that I saw was Hopshi tweet out this, that Dopplers were more rare, but you were getting all gems and stuff at the same rate. But eventually we did get an update. Now it's been a couple of months. Now we've really gotten to get into the data, because again, these knives are, we know how rare golds are. We know how hard golds are to pull. And again, even Dopplers and the gems and all that are even more rare. So it takes a lot of time to actually get the relevant statistics and data and all that stuff. And also, Counter-Strike 2 could have made more tweaks behind the scenes. It's also very possible. We don't know the full extent of what they were doing, how often they're updating this, whatever. But CSROI finally tweeted out, yes, they likely fixed the odds. I've been periodically tracking the CS Float database for many knives to determine the correct odds for fever Doppler phases for CSROI. Details below. Expect the same Doppler odds as the Prisma 1 and 2 case. So, if there are no issues, the odds are expected to be phases 1 through 4, you have about an 80% chance. Sapphire Ruby should have about an 18% chance. And Black Pearl should have about a 2% chance. Again, that's once you've pulled a Doppler knife. That's your different possibilities in the Doppler knife category. The recent data that he has seen over at CSROI suggests that phase 1 through 4 is about a 77.9, Sapphire and Ruby is about an 18.6, and the Black Pearl is about a 3.5%. These are within margin of error of each other. And obviously, we can get lucky or unlucky as far as how many are coming out. An example of broken Doppler odds still exists today in the chroma cases. The chroma cases have actually bad odds, actually worse odds than they're supposed to. You have phases 1 through 4 having about a 94% chance, Sapphire and Ruby only 5.3% chance, and Black Pearl 0.6% chance. That's crazy how rare those things are from a chroma case. Instead of an 80% chance for all phases combined, Valve seemingly gave each Doppler phase an 80% chance of being received compared to any other knife finish in chroma cases. In other words, you are 3.4x more likely to receive a Doppler knife over any other finish, something like Tiger 2. So again, we see a ton of those Doppler knives coming out. Does the fever case have that same issue? Probably not. From recent data linked to the bottom of the thread, here's a comparison. Talon Doppler to Talon finish ratio is 1.04, Karambit Doppler to Karambit finish ratio is 3.48, and the Skeleton to Survival Doppler to finish ratio is about 1.31 from what we've seen recently. Valve posted a bug with the frequency at which different paint finishes replied to knives. You were previously much more likely to receive a Doppler than any other finish, but CS Float database can be registered later, tainting new data. And again, that is the issue as well, that we didn't know exactly how fast people were actually kind of putting the stuff on FloatDB and how fast FloatDB was registering certain things. We also didn't know how many of these knives were registered while there were still issues versus how many were registered after there was issues. So it kind of skews the whole data. So again, that's why it's kind of taken so long to really figure out what the heck is going on here. He says, how can I be so confident that the Doppler knives have now have the correct odds? He says he can't, but presenting the final data point convergence across 1.5 months of data, we are seeing about a 73% chance of phase 1 through 4, 21% chance of Sapphire and Ruby, and a 5.9% chance of Black Pearl, which at the very least, again, even if the odds aren't perfect, even if everything isn't totally there, it does show that Ruby and Sapphires are more rare in the phase 1 through 4, and the Black Pearl is even more rare in the Ruby and Sapphire, showing that it does seem like the fever case has been completely fixed. Now, again, some people will argue that this is amazing. Some people argue that this is great. Some people want, Ruby and Sapphire to be rare and iconic, and it's going to help them be more expensive, and then it's going to potentially make Ruby and Sapphire a better investment, whatever. Some people were like, hey, we should have, these things be more common so they're not so expensive. Not everybody wants a $5,000 knife to exist. Some people want to have it, be more affordable and stuff like that. But also, again, like I said, as a case investor, having an opportunity to invest in a super juiced case where it's pumping out, Doppler finishes and gems and stuff all over the place was actually very crazy. But now that we have seen this like nerf of it, either one or even multiple nerfs over time to actually get back to the correct odds of what it's supposed to be, it is kind of interesting. So I just wanted to let you know, if you had been opening fever cases under the impression that there was juiced odds or increased odds, no, even though it didn't seem like they fixed the whole issue right away, they have eventually, or over time or whatever, completely fixed the issue. It does seem like we have the right drop rates. And again, I think that's a nerf overall to the unboxing numbers we're going to see. It's a nerf overall to you unboxing them and the things you're going to get, but it's also a nerf overall to the fever case and how good it is as an investment, and how good it is just as an item overall. Again, it's still very, very amazing. It still has insane golds. It still has a great red. This thing is still getting unboxed in absolutely insane numbers. We've seen 10 million fever cases unboxed in the last 30 days. I mean, things are still looking very, very, very strong. And also what's crazy right now is you look at something like CS Flow, and you can see fever cases are 70 cents. Fever cases are the exact same price as Gallery, even though the fever case has better reds, better golds, higher unboxing numbers. Like right now, you can actually pick up fever cases at a very, very good price. But I at least did want to let you guys know that it does seem like, yes, the unboxing rates of the knives and the gems and everything, the Doppler finishes, have been totally fixed. And the recent data that we've seen does show that Counter-Strike 2, even though there was issues at the beginning and maybe even issues, later on, that does seem totally fixed. So the fever case has been fully nerfed. It's still insane, but it's not as insane as it once was. So open them or invest in them or whatever, at least knowing completely what you're getting into. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hopefully I catch you in the next one. Until then.